Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Hindsight's 2020. And I am very excited to introduce you to Sharon Ramalho today, the former Senior Vice President and Chief People Officer of McDonald's Canada. And so, my first job was at McDonald's, so I know how important the people were there, and we're going to talk about what Sharon has to say about that. Speaking about people, we met through a mutual connection. One of my past clients who became a real estate agent and has gone on to be one of the top in his brokerage, good on you. But he introduced us, and we've been getting to know each other virtually over COVID. And every time we talk, I always think, Sharon, you have so much insightful things to say. And I just want to take a few minutes and, so I asked her, would you please be my guest? There's so much to say about you. Is there anything else people should know before we talk about business?
Welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy the honest advice and personal stories. I'm Sue Stiles, the CEO of the Successful Solopreneurs School of Business, and I'm here to share hope and possibility so that you can reach the unwavering results you desire. Find the best business resources, advice, and offers at SueStiles.com. And now on with the show.
Well, there's just so much in the book, isn't there? But just great getting to know you as well, Sue, and certainly very happy to share my experiences. I'm a bit of an anomaly where I actually spent my entire career with one company, McDonald's Restaurants of Canada, and got to work around the world with McDonald's in about 7 different countries, and spent about 35 years with McDonald's, which just already seems like a lifetime ago, but it was just an outstanding work experience.
You just don't hear that anymore, that someone stays with one company. And I love some of the insight from your experiences. And so we're gonna, just before we get into the business questions though, let me ask you, when you weren't working, what are some of the hobbies and pastimes that you enjoy? Who's Sharon as a person?
Well, those that know me well, they know I'm absolutely an avid traveler, and I know a lot of people have people like to call it the bucket list, places that they like to go. I like to call it the life list because you're doing things because you're living, and travel for me has always been since I was probably a teenager. That's when the travel bug hit me. But yeah, no, I love to travel. I've been to actually all 7 continents of the world. And I'm so fortunate that I actually got to Antarctica last year. So really, we could spend all the time on what that was like. But just love to travel and explore because it just opens up the mind. You learn about different cultures and history and food and geography, and I just love traveling. So right now my passport is locked up, like everyone else. So now, I'm just, I like to hunker down, cooking, listening to music, reading. I'm a news junkie as well. I love to read the news of the day. And actually I read the news from different papers around the world also. Of course, English language papers, because I think it gives a perspective that we might not always get here in Canada or in North America. So, yeah, and I like wine and not just drinking wine. I love to learn about wine and learn about the different wine growing regions. And yeah, that's me.
We are waiting to get together in person for wine. I'll tell you that. Good for you for having taken the opportunities to travel while you were working. And exactly what you say, a lot of people wait and say, I want to do a big European trip or Iceland or wherever, they think it's a crazy place. And so I'll wait until a big moment to get there, but we don't always get those big moments, things change. So kudos.
Yeah, you got to do it when you can. And, again, it's just living your life and whatever passions you have in your life, don't put things off too long because, you never know.
I totally agree. Totally. Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to talk about a few business questions today. Yes. And although you have been in corporate, and working with employees, I think your interpretation of the people quotient is so valuable. And a lot of the clients that I work with are solopreneurs. They're starting their own businesses, and maybe they, develop a small team, or definitely hire an administrative assistant or someone to help with marketing. But I always start off with the first question, and please interpret it for yourself, because I know now in retirement, you also still provide speaking and consulting and keynotes, and you show up at conferences. But
Yes.
in your opinion, what are some of the best ways that you have seen or have gotten business or clients for business?
Yeah, after I retired from McDonald's and certainly did some traveling, I knew that the world of consulting was this bit of a white space for me, and I was happy to dive into sharing my expertise and sharing my experiences with those that are interested in hearing it through either speaking events or consulting assignments. From my experience thus far, and it's been about 3 years now, certainly taking opportunities to attend conferences or networking type of events, I think has been just a great way. Now, in the old days, and I'm talking last year, that was the way that I think, a lot of us were able to get out and meet people and network. This year obviously has thrown a bit of a curveball to the way we do it, and things are a little bit more virtual now. But we'll get back to, whatever this new normal is, we'll get back there. And if that's next year, later on into the year, I would say take advantage of any of the industry type of events that are taking place, either industries that you have some passion around or that your expertise might be in. Put yourself out there. And, a great example I can share, Sue, is my very first client I actually got from an event that I was attending, but I was an attendee. And it was a women's leadership event, and it was put on by my bank, BMO, Bank of Montreal. And I was sitting in the audience, and the topics were centered around, as business leaders, some of the challenges that they have. And, we're in little breakout sessions and working through the topic. And then, there's the big group together, about 200 people, and people are sharing, their examples and concerns and questions, and the facilitator's doing a nice job facilitating it. Anyhow, the topic was all around people and a lot of challenges that these leaders are having and experiencing. So I took an opportunity at the right moment, and I put up my hand, and I wanted to make a comment, and I grabbed the mic and I made some comments that I thought would be helpful to the group. Centered around building a people strategy. As you build a business plan in the world of business, ensuring that the people plan is the top of the list, even well before the financial plan, in my humble opinion. That's what makes great leaders and great organizations. Anyhow, I'm just kind of spewing some words out there, and all of a sudden I'm looking around the room and everyone's just writing things down. And I can see people writing. And I thought to myself, wow, this is impactful. And I only spoke for about 5 minutes. And then I went back to my role of being a participant, not a facilitator of the meeting. And, people came up to me afterwards, and certainly my first client ended up being my first client. She came up and introduced herself and just said, Sharon, I need to speak to you. We need to talk. I need your help. And, from there, so I think that was, that's an example of just really putting yourself out there and
I love that. I love that. People, put your hand up. How many times
absolutely.
do we go out or attend things and we might have something to say and we shrink behind? Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, and I do hope, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I do hope conferences come back, because I'm starving to get around people again. Yeah.
Oh, they will. They definitely will. They may look a little bit different, and the number of people or how it's all spaced out. That sort of thing might be a little bit different, but they'll be back, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So I was going to say the other, outside of the ability to attend networking events and things like that right now, LinkedIn is a great networking tool to use as well. I think if you've got people within your network, first, second, third network type of individuals who can help set up an introduction to people that you might be interested in wanting to either get to know further or work with. I think that's another great way of doing it. I do find, the cold calls or the cold emails, those don't work. Going back to my corporate career, the number of cold emails I would receive, and people just don't have time for that. And unless there's you're able to connect it by either someone that's introducing you, or someone that you've known, or someone that you've met, those are typically the better ways of doing it.
I totally agree, guys. You can get some cold emails off LinkedIn or messages as well. Learn how to message somebody with something of value, like,
Yes.
target and harvest. Don't just spray a bunch of cold calls out there. Yeah,
Yes.
so important. I hope people hear that authentic, organic
Absolutely.
communication. Yes.
And word of mouth. If you've given a client a great experience, getting those testimonials, referrals, those are also very impactful. We're all looking for, who's the best car repair person. Well, it's someone that's used an organization, or, where do you go to get your haircut? Well, someone that's, given you a referral, usually, you have a good chance. So I think those are the better ways. You're right. And sometimes the cold mess, or maybe that's the wrong word to use, those email blasts, there's a role for it. I totally agree with you. It's just finding the right tone for it, and also who the audience is. And always remember, who's your audience, and just making sure that you find the right ways therefore.
Yeah, think about it a little bit beforehand, for sure. Well, you have years of experience. You said you're retired and a few years ago, but let's just say she's not 65, folks. Yeah.
No.
You retired at 50, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I started early. Remember I said I was 35 years at McDonald's? Do the math. I started early. I was an early bloomer.
Yeah, I started my career there early too. Couldn't wait to earn some money.
Yes.
And so over all these years, tell me something that you could share that could help others. Try to find the courage to launch, some unique experience you've been through. If you could share something with your career, tell me a story.
Well, certainly the one that comes to mind was my experience working in Russia. So I was part of the team, a Canadian team that went over, and we opened the McDonald's business in Russia. And gosh, we could spend an hour talking about that, but I'll stick to a couple of headlines. This was back in the early 90s, and the restaurant opened in 1990. I went over in 1991. And it turned into a 13-year adventure for me. We opened McDonald's in Russia during Soviet times, when there were no businesses. It was the government, it was the military, there was sports, and that's what we knew about the Soviet Union. There were no businesses. There were no infrastructure for growth. It really was, and those of us old enough to remember the Cold War and just how the Soviet Union tried to really show themselves as this powerhouse. Well, in fact, they weren't so much as powerful, because they didn't have any infrastructure within their country. McDonald's opened. And McDonald's Canada was given the approval to go ahead and open the business there, because our founder, George Cohan, had this passion to do it. So we went over, and, you talk about taking risks. There was Pepsi-Cola, Coca-Cola, and McDonald's. That was it. You could get some Levi jeans and Marlboro cigarettes on the black market, but that was it. We were actually, Pepsi-Cola was the first company. McDonald's was the second multinational company going to Russia. But that was, you talk about risk, and, looking for some white space, and, believing in your brand, believing in the product and the services that you offer, and you stay true to it. you know, it's a large world out there we're living in, and the opportunities are endless if you believe in your brand, believe in your product, believe in your services. You have a great team of people who's out there and you know, doing the work. And you know, we developed an amazing team of Russians and Russian mid-management and Russian leaders. They're running the company today. You know, it's they just celebrated the 30th anniversary. So it was a privilege for me to be part of that for about 13 years, opening in 37 different cities across Russia.
Wow.
But you know, the Russian story, you know, it really is about risk. It's about taking smart, calculated risk and not being afraid. Because easily, you know, I could have said, no, I don't want to go to, I was asked, do you want to go to work in Moscow? Sure, I'd love to. And, you know, initially it was can you go for 6 months? Sure, absolutely. And it turned into 13 years and a career came out of it, and just great friendships and a lot of knowledge, I learned the Russian language, you know, a lot of history I learned. So taking opportunities that might seem just so far-fetched or a completely different fork in your road.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't expect that when you start with McDonald's Canada.
No.
That you would end up there. What a great message, because you don't know what opportunities might come, and if it's unknown, you might be more apt again to shrink back and say, no thanks, I'll pass.
Well, just like the example I gave, you know, is sitting in a meeting where I put up my hand and grab a mic. It's so easy to just sit back and just watch things unfold around you, versus, you know, taking, what's the saying, take the bull by the horns.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, a good friend of mine, he was one of my mentors, still is to this day. He's a great friend. Worked with him for many years. You know, his saying was, that's why I can't claim the saying if ever he watches this. Jacques, this is your saying. You pack your own parachute. You got to pack your own parachute. You've got to take care, certainly, of you know, the road, the path that you're taking. Don't wait for other people to you know, start to pack your parachute before you jump out of that plane. You make sure that you've checked it, you've packed it, all the cords and the ribbons are all there before you jump out of the plane. So it really is about, really is about just kind of putting yourself out there and not letting fear take over you.
I think there is a portion of magical thinking that I have participated in myself, thinking if you just start something, somebody else will come and launch you, you know, or somebody else will come and make your dreams happen. And that's what I'm hearing you say is, no, you do it, you see it, go for it. Make sure you're taking care of yourself and do what you can.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, but absolutely.
I also hear you talk about this guy as a mentor. Maybe you can talk a little bit to people that have, you know, there's that balance, right? Like, do everything you can, but did you have any other people who helped you, you know, build those bridges or take those risks, or who are the mentors and people that were important in your life of the people person?
Well, you know, it takes a village. We've heard that saying, and it is so, so true. You know, anyone that thinks they know it all, they have all the answers, they can do it themselves, they completely are mistaken. You know, it really takes a village. And I've been fortunate, outside of great parents and, you know, lovely family environment. You know, I still have to this day, I'll say 4 people in my life that were instrumental in helping to guide me at different I would say milestones across my career path, you know, helping me to grow into a leader, helping me to, you know, take the risk of going to work in Russia. And you know, one of my leaders there, Glenn, you know, to this day is a great friend and continues to be a great mentor for me. You know, encouragement and coaching and teachings and learnings and giving opportunities to try different things and go work in different cities in Europe and take on new assignments. You know, those were the things that certainly I appreciated from my mentors. And you know, mentorship, you know, I've gotten into a lot of interesting debates about mentorship. And, you know, people will ask, well, how do I find a mentor? it really is a combination of you finding them, they finding you. It's this serendipitous meeting. It's not, hey, can we go have coffee and I don't know you and you're my mentor. It's really a personal type of relationship, someone that actually cares enough to give their time, to give their energy, to give their thoughts to you. That's what a mentor is. There's coaches and advisors and certainly people that you can meet that can help, give you, insights and information that you require. But mentorship is a lot deeper than that. And I encourage everyone to, go, they're around you. You may not know that they're around you. They're in the form of coaches that you've had when you perhaps played sports, or teachers, family members, maybe an aunt, maybe an uncle. They're typically not a boss. They're typically someone who, maybe a peer, someone that works in the organization at a different level, in a different department that, you want to build that connection with. So I think mentorship is something very, very important. And for your audience also, peer mentorship is an amazing tool as well. People are going through the same journey. We're all going through the same journey, just in different ways. And perhaps there's individuals that can help your clients just really, learn from the experiences that others are doing at the same time.
Yeah, it's one reason why I created the Successful Solopreneurs School of Business is to create some kind of a hub where solopreneurs can come, because we often get so isolated. And just, I'm hearing you speak, we think we have to have all the answers. We end up doing everything ourselves. And I really want to expose that and say, have people on like you who are talking about how valuable it is to open up and look for those mentors, or pay for coaching, or do education, but get in a hub, peer to peer. That's valuable if you can get into kind of a mastermind group or any kind of group, but start look for
Absolutely.
those that you need. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's so many groups and organizations out there. And as we talked about earlier, it's really just putting yourself out there and wanting to participate. And I'd also offer that, for anyone, I can't even pronounce it, solopreneur, a solopreneur.
You can't be a solopreneur unless you can say solopreneur.
Unless you can say it.
You can
I'm
say
a solopreneur now.
Yeah.
But for anyone that's working by themselves, a solopreneur, you're not alone. And that's got to be a key message. You're absolutely not alone. And you referenced it, and I liked what you said about just also take some learnings, take a course. There's so much you can learn and just, continue to build your network and build yourself up. And sorry, I lost my train of thought. The comment I was going to make was, think about also what it is you want to learn, because often, some of my experiences with coaching and with mentoring, people just want to do it for the sake of doing it, perhaps, or just want to know that they can build some nice connections, which I think is fantastic that they're doing that. But really get a sense of what it is you want to get out of it. What is it that you want to do to learn? What is it? What skill is it that you're trying to establish? So that you're with the time that you've got with the individual, if it's a peer mentoring relationship, perhaps, that you're actually getting something out of it. Perhaps it's how do you plan the time with the family and with the work? How do you, perhaps it's learning about a certain skill that's needed, perhaps in your, in the world of real estate, a certain skill or two that someone's maybe lacking, that they think, I think I need to talk to someone who can help me build this skill, and just go for it. Enjoy it.
So you're advising, be proactive, come intentionally, so that you can at least have a purpose and you're getting what you need. And then who knows what the mentoring session might involve, but at least you're starting. so McDonald's, huge, I mean, global and just beyond solopreneurs' expectations at this moment, but it started out small too, right? It started out as one restaurant also, just serving hamburgers to its people. So don't put a lid on your dreams. You never know where it might go to Russia or wherever. Now,
absolutely.
I wanted to touch on something. I don't think I've spoken with anybody else, but you are somebody you've been there, done that, retired out. Do you have any advice? I always, when I sit down with somebody and we're, say, going over their business planning, and I ask, what's your succession plan? How do you plan to get out? This is often met with, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'm doing. I just got in. And so can you speak a little bit to some points about retirement? What can we think about? How could we prepare? What's worked for you?
Well, retirement. I started to seriously think about retirement, believe it or not, when I was about 38. And because I started young, I started early. And I also knew in a decade or so, I'd want to do different things. I always knew this world of consulting and giving back in different ways, and get out and speak more often. Doing keynote speaking was something I had a bit of a passion for as well. So, and I knew, for me, I was leaning towards that age 50, 35 years at McDonald's, age 50, and getting into the fifth decade, would be rounded up nice and put a bow on the McDonald's career, and certainly then move on. But I knew certainly the financial side of it has to be something that I would be working on. And that would be my advice is, number one, you've got to build a financial plan, number one. And then if you can do it with a professional, a financial advisor, perhaps someone in your bank, or, there's different organizations that offer those types of services. But that's number one. You need to build that financial plan. How much will you need to live your life? And how much will you need once a paycheck stops coming in? And how will you then have the cash flow to carry you through? So having a real sound financial plan is important. The second would be, I call it the now what plan. So now what? You've made the decision to retire, as I did. I retired. Now what? So, because you don't retire, and no one's going to retire and just sit on their bum all day. There's things that you'll want to do. Those hobbies that you have, as we talked about. So travel, maybe sitting on a board, doing some professional coaching or mentoring of millennials, of young people. Those were all in my now what plan, consulting. So really building that out, time with family, of course, and with friends, taking care of the house and doing things and projects around the house. So you've got to have a financial plan. You've got to have your now what plan. What you'll do, what your purpose will be, how you'll continue to live the life that you have. And then the third part is the letting go plan, and just letting it go. We've talked about this one, those that, the solopreneurs, as well as people that have worked in companies, you've got a purpose. You wake up, you go to work, you've got emails to deal with, you've got clients to talk to, you're going for business lunches or business dinners. All of that stops when you retire. And, it's important that you've got, a little bit of an idea or a plan of how you're going to, what's the word, decompose or decompress from, I'm not getting 200 emails a day any longer. And I went through that the first few weeks, where my email was like 5 a day. It was like, oh my God, wow.
Totally different pace of life.
Yeah, just so different. But I did the right thing. I actually went to Europe for 90 days. So that helped with the, with decompressing myself. But I would say those three things, Sue: your financial plan, your now what plan that's going to, keep you going and carry you through and keep you motivated and inspired yourself. And then, how you're going to really decompress and kind of get into a what is likely going to be a slower pace
Right.
than perhaps what you have right now.
It's a transition too, and don't be afraid of it because you're planning for it. I love that advice. I hope people will think about it more. And I mean, I know we're in a no, we're not flying around and traveling right now, but what's next for Sharon? So where are you setting your sights now for the next, few years? What would you like to see happen for you?
I get asked that question often, and I actually can't always answer it. And for the first time, I'm actually okay with not knowing what's going to be next.
Sure.
It's, I'm okay with not knowing, how many clients am I going to have, or how many more countries I'm going to visit, or, what new project am I going to start in my house? Like I'm actually okay not having that plan. Although I do have a couple things, in the works, of course. I'm spending a lot of time with my parents right now, as my mom had knee replacement surgery, and just helping out with her rehabilitation. So I'm a bit of a physiotherapist right now, and a couple of house projects. But for the first time, I actually don't have that long-term plan, other than I just want to get through 2020, and may blue skies and sunny days, greet us in 2021, and we all just move forward.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have had plans, but we've had to be flexible, or pivot, as I said, and just, let's just see what happens here, and we're going to be okay, and let's see how it unfolds.
Absolutely.
I love thinking about that. I think, all entrepreneurs should spend some time every year just revisiting their retirement or their succession plan, so that you're ready because I mean, I've worked with clients now, it might be their choice in some of the cases, but who are still working at 60 and 70 years old. In fact, I had a client who was in his 80s still working. And I always joke, I said, Bill, you forgot the succession plan. We should have got together before. So you don't want to just keep working by default, right?
That's right.
Live by design.
That's right.
We of course could go on and on, but tell me, if there's, just before we wrap up, is there anything else that you could share with us, or let us know, or tip, or anything else that's on your mind?
Yeah, I would close it with just the state that we're in right now of COVID-19, and what it's done for people, and the impact it's had on people, your well-being, your mental health, how it's impacted your perhaps your families, your community. And there's a saying I saw recently: every storm eventually runs out of rain. And this will pass. This too shall pass. And I would encourage everyone to just continue to stay safe, continue to practice all that we're learning about, that we have to do, but start building your plan for what your transition, your transformation, or your how you're going to thrive in 2021, because this storm will run out of rain. We don't know yet when, but it will. And let's all be ready to just to hit the ground running when that time comes, and to keep the economy and keep ourselves all moving forward. So I just wanted to close with that. Take care of yourselves, and this will definitely pass.
Thank you. And if you want to visit Sharon online, your consulting website is 6 Words Consulting, right?
Yes. 6 Words Consulting. Yes.
And what are those 6 words?
You can't do it without people.
Exactly. So
business leaders, if I can say business leaders, it's targeted towards that group specifically.
Yes.
Achieving your business goals will only be accomplished with great people around you. And for your solopreneurs, you also can't do it with people, clients, peer mentors, other mentors and coaches. We need people around ourselves to continue to prosper.
You can't do it without people. Sharon, thank you for being one of our people on Hindsight 2020. And thanks for listening in. I will see you next time. Keep your chins up. We'll see you on the other side of this. Thanks, Sharon.
Thanks, Sue.
Thanks.